All right, how you guys doing? My name is Mike Singh. I will be demoing my IT-114 Section 6 chat room project for the spring 2024 semester. So as we can look here at my VS Code, I'm in my local repository. I have my project folder and my client, common, and server subfolders. We also have the build, remove classes, and run files as well. Let me just show you what those do real quick. So if we go ahead and open a terminal here, head over to IT-114-006. All right, now we are in our local repository. We can build this project by running the build project. Is basically just going to search for all files that end in .java and compile them. You see us here we have .java and .class. I'm just going to do it one more time. All right, and now getting in to the next file, run. This is what we use to deploy the server and, well, not deploy, but to run the server, as well as to run the to run the client UI. So I'm just gonna start the server for now to show you later. Okay, and now let's jump right into it. So the server class, it just has all of our server information. It's gonna carry all of our server response methods to our client request methods. Um, and then our server thread is gonna be our client's connection to the server. Each client gets their own specific connection to the server, which through via a server thread. Um, that's just the basic outline of how the um, client server relationship works. So a part of this project, let's jump right into the client.java. You can go down here. We see a bunch of basic, we're calling an instance of a client, uh, a bunch of basic project necessities. Most of them were provided by the professor. Here are a couple I added in. Let's get to here. Okay, so the method connect takes a parameter of address, port, username, and an event callback. So the method is it's like a process, and it's called connect, and it needs these four things in order to run. So in order to connect to a client, in order to for a client to connect to a server, they would need to have all of these four things. So let's go ahead and start up uh, a client project UI. So that relates over here to the run command. If you want to run it, you would either choose server, client, or UI. For this case, we're just going to be using server and UI. So let's go ahead and connect that. Perfect. So our client UI has popped up, and I started my server earlier on in the video. So you can see over here it says servers listening on port 3000, waiting for next client, starting queue manager. So let's go over to our client. So right here you can see we have our host address, our port number, and now we are prompted to enter our username. So even in milestone 2, which was the previous iteration of the final project, if we were running the client over here in the terminal rather than having a user interface, and we were not able to continue or even connect to the server without entering a username. So that is still an active feature where we must enter a username in order to connect to the server. So let me go ahead. I added my name. Here we are. Um, Client has been added to user list panel, and thread 1, so server thread 1 for Mike, has joined the server, has joined the room in the server. Okay, and let's just go through a quick outline of how payloads and data is moved across this project. So let's take a look here. The user types a message, a command. Client processes that command message. It gets sent through a send command. It generates a payload with that send command. That send command sends over to the server thread. The server thread processes it and sends it to the game room. The game room is where all the work really happens, the business logic, I guess, yeah, as it says. And then the game rooms uses a send message, um, send method to send back to the server thread, and then the server thread sends it back to the client, and then the client processes it in its process payload. So let's just go through that real quick in the code and see what that really means. All of that derives from here, from this this bar where I am typing the entry. So actually, let's just talk about the UI real quick. So the UI, we have this panel over here. This is the chat area. This is the chat area where all the messages, user disconnect, lobby, room join, and all that will pop up. This is the user list area where all the users will pop up. I currently only have one client added, so we will see this populate in a second. We have this bar where we can type our entries in. We have an export chat button and a send button where obviously we're not able to send empty messages. We also have this rooms where we can search for rooms, create a room, or join a room. Let me just show you a quick example of a method here. I typed in hey, we saw that Mike sent the message. Here we go. And so this is the first step of that whole diagram I just showed you. Originally in Milestone 2, we were doing all of that here in the process client command. Most of these are deprecated, such as create room, join room, list rooms, since now we have buttons for them. What's not deprecated is these commands that were a requirement for milestone 2, 3, and 4. So we're still going to be using the process client command method for this. So after the process client command, we're going to see most of these are almost the same. They all have a send method. So we could check here. We have a send method for send disconnect. Or let's do the one that I did. I did send roll. So let's just head down to send roll and see what that's about. Okay, so here we have send roll. This is the method. It takes a parameter, which we need in order for the method to work, which is going to be a string. The string roll text. So we're going to create a new payload. Payload.setType. We're going to set the payload type as roll. And over here in our common, we have all that information. We have our payload type. We have to add, if we want to create a different type of payload, we have to add a payload type here. And if we want to create subclasses, we can create subclasses. This is the payload. This is basically explaining what a payload is in this project, at least, what kind of data it contains. It says it's serializable, so we can send it over the network. And back over to the client. Okay, so we have these send methods. We can see here we're setting the message. We're setting the message for this payload as roll text, which is the text that the client previously entered. So let me explain that real quick. So if the roll is a feature that was implemented for Milestone 2. So here, if I do /roll 100, we get an answer saying Mike rolled a 2. So let's explain what that means. So Mike is sending the roll and setting the message. So above in the process client command, we're getting rid of the /roll since we have all this right here. We're checking if roll command is called, and if roll command is called, we will be removing roll command. So where was it? Yeah, so we're going to be replacing the roll command, and we're just going to be keeping the number 100 in this case, where I typed 100. The reason for that is because we want to send just the number across the payload rather than the entire text, so we can reduce the amount of bandwidth being used on the server. So over here at send roll, so we're setting roll text is going to be just that 100 that the client typed in their UI. So we're going to send that. We're going to set message as roll text, and now since we set that message, we're going to be writing out that payload. So now this is going to follow that chain that I showed you earlier, and we're going to go over to the server thread. And in the server thread, we also have a similar, here we go, process payload. So this process payload checks if the payload matches, as we were doing the payload type from earlier. So down to roll, let's go down to roll, see how this works. Okay, so room.roll p.get message this. what does this mean? So in the file role, in the file room, we're going to be calling the role method. That takes two parameters. One is the message. So right now we are getting the message, whereas in the client we were setting the message. So we set the message here. We set the message at 100, and now we're going to server thread, and we are going to get that message. We're going to pull that 100. We're going to get this, which is a reference to the server thread. So let's go and see. So in the room role, in the file role, in the class role, we are going to be looking at the role. Sorry. In the class room, the room.java, we will be looking at the method role. Okay, so here's our role method. This role method basically just does all the logic, like we said, the business logic for all of the client commands and messages. So there's a bunch of other ones here. It's for handle disconnect, list rooms, all the ones that we saw previously. So let's go look at role again, for example. Okay, so this does the method, does the logic where we are trying for two different types of formats of the role method. So we have one format which I showed earlier is role 100, where you just put a number, and then roll 2d6. Sorry, yeah, 6, whatever. Roll 2d6. We'll be rolling 2 dice with 6 faces each, and we'll be getting out a random number of dice. So here we go. We rolled 2 dice with 6 faces each. We got a 3 and a 4, and they total to 7. And then here I did roll 100, and we got a random number 0 to 100, and got 21. So that is basically what logic is going on over here. And then that logic is being formatted into a string. We're getting the total, we're showing what was rolled, how many was rolled, we're getting the client name from the payload, the number of dice, the number of faces, and then we are sending this, as a string. So we're going to send roll again, client.send roll, and we will be sending the client ID whose original payload was this, and we'll be sending the string of what they did, or if they had the wrong type of role format, like let's say for example they put role blah blah blah, like they started off with the role command, so the process client command recognized that, but then it didn't match any of the formats, we would get invalid role format, which is what we're sending here. So error. So in the catch will be client.send role, we'll be sending the error, and the error here is invalid number. Okay, so now after this we have the send role method. So this send row method, keep in mind, yep. So send row method, we're sending this over to the server thread again. So the server thread is going to do the same thing. It's going to set the same client ID. It's going to set the message that we just received from the room, and it's going to return this payload back to the client. So now the client is going to receive this payload and process it over here in the process payload method. So when we get down to roll, we will just be printing out the message and calling this event on roll receive. Okay, so this method, okay, so that is basically how a payload goes throughout the server client connection. For me, this did not work for the roll and flip methods. In milestone 3, I believe it was milestone 3. No, yep. In milestone 3, this method was not working for me. So I kind of chose a little shortcut, kind of little cheat to get it done, because I wanted to see if I could get as many points as possible on the project. So instead of using the whole payload, it was working for me in milestone 2, but when we integrated the UI, which is basically all of these, anything you see, client UI, client utilities, iCard controls, events, and everything in this views folder, these were a part of milestone 3, where we were integrating the UI, and ever since I integrated the UI, I was not able to get these two payload commands to work for me. So I did use a little cheat code. I went back to some of the logic we used in milestone 1 that we kind of deprecated in the room, how we were just directly creating the room, joining the room in milestone 1, we were doing all this here, and then we sent this over to the room. No, yeah, to the room. So we used this here, but now in milestone 2, all of this was moved over to the client.java. So I wasn't able to get it to work for milestone 3, but I did for milestone 2. So in milestone 3, what I ended up doing is I used this little cheat over here to print out basically the same logic for the flip and roll. We're just sending the message with the client ID, and then we are printing out the message here for the roll and flip. So let me show you how that works again. I'm just going to go ahead and connect another client here so you can get a better idea of what the chat room looks like. Come on. Okay. Run.sh project UI. Okay, so now we have our first client here, Mike, and we're going to be connecting a second client. Let's just call her Jess. Shout out to my sister. Okay, so now we see Jess is connected. We got the message here that Jess is connected. I'm just going to say, hey, Jess, and we both received it. So my flip method works. We can see that the flip method shows different style than from a regular message. Same as my roll method and my other roll variation. Cool, so it works. Another feature I got working was the what do you call it? Highlighting the most recent user who sent a message. So we can see in both clients here that Mike is highlighted. So now if I go over to client Jess, it shows us the name here, and I say, yo, we can see that now Jess is highlighted on both ends. That feature was implemented in, where is it? That was implemented in the user list panel, the client UI, and the chat panel. So let's go over to those 3 files. We said, oh, so the chat panel, user list, and client UI. So in here, it was just one line of code. We were adding this message this method was already given to us by the professor. We were just adding, I guess, another line to it saying that on message received, once we receive a message from the client, we're gonna have the client ID in the string message. We're gonna call the method in chat panel called last message highlight and send over the client ID. So let's go check out this one now. This method is just, this is in the chat panel. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this method is a part of the chat panel because that's how we're going to tell if a message was sent. And then we are just going to be calling in the user list panel file where we will be calling the highlight user method. So let's go check that one out. That's the main one. Okay, so here we go. Here is our highlight user. We will be, it is a protected method with a parameter of a client ID. We'll be going through each component of the chat area. Chat area? No, sorry, wrong feature. I'm getting confused. We'll be going, every time a client sends a message, we'll be scanning for that component. And if C is the instance of JEditor pane, so if it is an instance of it, then we will be setting the foreground as, well, it's called magenta. Yeah, magenta. So we'll be setting the foreground as magenta. So we'll be setting the front color of the client name as magenta. As we can see that feature one more time. Let me just show you that it's working. Hey, see, it switched. Okay. Next feature we had integrated was process messages. So as we saw in the client UI here, we have all different types of colors of message. What is going on here? Okay, we'll just check this one. We have all different types of messages. We have like different colors and, sorry, I think this client is glitched out. We have different colors, bold. So let me just show you a quick example of all the features, all the things we can do with this feature. So as you can see here, I have a bunch of special characters. This one means bold. This one means bold. This one means italic. This one means underline, and this one #R, it's saying that we want to make this word in the middle red. So let's just see how that prints out. So we can see this is a bold message with an example of an italic and underline that you can have red text, blue, green, and you can combine them. So we have all of them working here and all of them working individually here. This method was originally for, I believe, milestone, I have a hard time remembering now, 2? Milestone 2, we had to implement this method in, or was it 3? I can't recall. Um, I believe it was 3. Milestone 3, we're implementing this. So originally I did have this in the, let's see, I think it was 2. Okay. Um, so originally I did have this in the server thread, and I was processing all that over here. Same thing when we implemented the UI. It was, instead of printing bold, so if I were to type this, it prints bold now because I have this feature working, but instead it was printing with HTML tags, and that is not what we wanted. So to get this feature working with the UI, I adjusted the chat panel. Okay, chat panel, here we go. Processed, okay. So I just reused the same method that I had in the server thread earlier. And so first here, I'm just declaring the message. I'm saying replace all instances of this with this. So this is going to be replacing italic. So we'll be replacing this with italic. We'll be replacing this with bold. We'll be replacing this underline with the underline. And then red, green, and sorry, red, blue, and green. And then over here, we already had this public add text method. This add text method is really just adding text into the chat panel. The chat panel was this area, this square right here. Excuse me. So the chat panel, this is just how we add text, the content into the chat area. So the only code that I added here was text equals message processor text. So I'm just running a string called text, which has already been declared a part of the add text method through the message processor. And then over here, this line was already given to us, so all I did was change this to HTML. Before it was just plain text, and now this is reading all HTML tags and actually printing them as HTML. Next method, export chat. Okay, the next method I got to work was, sorry, I'm all over the place, was the export chat history button. So you can see here I have this export chat history button that allows me to basically export all this history of chat. So let me just go ahead and do that real quick. Let me go to, press the export button, and then we go over to wherever we want to save it, and we will just save it here. I'm going to call it chat history, and then I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to open up my Finder. And where was it? Desktop. Mic, and here we go. We have chat history, and we can see that the file name is, okay, let me just look at it over here. The file name is 2024-5-1 to 1:53 a.m. So it is May 1st, 1:53 in the morning. So this excuse me. This feature was also done in the chat panel. Let me just find that real quick. Export. Okay, here we go. So I just added in this new button. I used where's the other button? There's this button here. I used the send button to kind of help me understand the logic of how a button works. So we create the button, we add the event listener. So export will happen when the button is pressed. Here we use JFileChooser to allow the pop-up window to pop up, and then we use simple date format to get the date, and we used where was the other one? What was it called? Simple file something with time. Where'd it go? Oh, date.set time zone. For this, we had to import a package something. Import java.utl.date. Yep. So we do that, and then and then we are running that through simple date format and set time zone, and we are saving that as a file name with timestamp. This was supposed to automatically name the file for me, but I couldn't get this to work. I was just going to name all the files chat history timestamp so it automatically pops up so I don't have to type in chat history, but I couldn't get that to work. And then we just used a new print writer called print, and then we printed it with the file name with timestamp. That's weird that that didn't work. Okay, and then we just over here over here in the chat area we get the chat area, which is the, let me explain this. It was up here. Was it? Oh yeah. So in the add text, how we had this chat area, which was this area, this square right here, where all the messages are. We were, where was I? We are getting all the components of that, so we are getting each line one by one. I was trying to have it print out each line one by one, but it was not working. I actually did not show you the file. Let me show you the file real quick. So this is that chat history file that I just saved. So let's open that up, see how that looks. So as you can see, Mike connected. Hey Mike. Everything is showing properly, and it's also showing all the different color fonts, bold, italic, underline, everything. So that is printing properly to the export chat button. Next feature that I implemented was, let me see, what does it say here? Oh yeah, so the mute and the private message. So mute, the mute feature I was not able to get to work. I kind of waited till last minute to understand. Well, what am I typing? To understand it. So I tried my best, and yeah. So what I did here is I created again a mute command, and then again I ran it through the process client command. And so okay, so what we were supposed to do for this this mute feature is we were supposed to populate a list of muted clients, and then when the payload comes back to the client, we were supposed to check in the process payload if mute, where's it? Okay, events not on mute. Maybe that's why I didn't get it working. Yep, I think I never checked if the client ID was in muted clients. I think that was the issue. That might be the issue. Okay, well, whatever. Let me just follow this real quick. So on mute receive, I don't really think I needed this. I was just really lost. The mute did not work. I was trying to add a mute button. I got really confused while trying to do both at the same time. The mute button I had in what file? Mute button, it would only make sense for me to have it in the user list panel. Yeah, so it's most likely here. Yeah, see, I blurred out the code here because I could not get it to work. I tried calling a new button. Client.instance send mute. We were sending using the send method. Did I ever create a? That is probably why. So I did kind of rushed this client. Send mute. Send mute payload type mute string client ID to mute. Oh, maybe because I sent this as a string. Let's see. Well, let's head over to the server thread and follow it. New feature client ID to mute. You have been muted by this user. See, yep, I messed up the logic here. Okay. Well, yeah. So this is where I tried to do a mute option. I guess I should have stuck to just the command instead of the instead of the button. Seems a little too complicated. I'm just gonna start another instance of a. Wow, why am I doing this? /run .sh project UI. So here is our third client, hopefully our last. So let's just call him dude. All right, now we see dude has connected. So now dude is going to text, and we can see dude is red. Okay, so third client is working fine. What I wanted to show here was my private message feature that I could not get to work. Originally, I started off in the client.java. Where is it? Client.java. Here we go. It's towards the bottom. Process, payload. So my my private message feature, I didn't think I needed a payload for that. I believe I tried doing it and I just got very lost in trying to understand it. Um, so I tried it here and I kind of got some of it to work, but it kind of didn't make sense at the same time. Um, so you can see here, first we're checking to see if the client is muted. If not, then get their ID. If they are muted. Oh, wait, yeah, if they aren't muted. And then here we're checking to see if the message starts with @ So what's supposed to happen for that feature is you see how we have client, Jess, dude, and Mike. So in Jess, I would have been at dude, what's up? So only dude should have received this message. Mike should have not received this message. For some reason, I probably messed up. Yeah, I couldn't figure this one out. I guess I got part of it right because I got the other client's ID. But yeah, so what's supposed to happen is Mike isn't supposed to see any of these messages, and dude isn't supposed to send the message. Only Jess is supposed to send the message to dude. So those are the features. I'm trying to see if I missed anything. Oh yeah, should just run through this real quick. This was given to us by the professor. Let me just show that it works. So let's go. We're going to create a room called 114. So when you create a room, the way it's set up is it automatically joins the room. So we can see Mike disconnected, Mike's disconnected. But now over on Mike, we see Mike connected. So if I send a message here, the only person that gets it is dude, sends it to Jessica, and Mike does not see the message. So over here, if I want to search for that room that Mike just joined, I named it 114, so I could search for 114, or I could search for the main lobby room. So I'm going to search for 114, and I'm going to click join, and now we can see dude connected, and now Mike and dude are in the same lobby, 1, 2, 3, and all of the special characters, everything still works. Boom. So again, guys, that is my project for 114. Here's my GitHub if you want to check it out. If you have any other questions, I hope to fix this project up and get all those non-working features to work. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing summer.